I do want to say how much I appreciate the welcoming that I've gotten here in the last 2 years with the Economic Opportunities Program team. The communication staff have been great, and also mention the positive working experience we've had with Working Metrics, who'll come up here in a minute, and Dyn Agility, which is a software development company. And then please mention to Dan Porterfield that this is being streamed on the campus of Georgetown University. You don't need to mention that it's my daughter who's streaming it, but we get credit for that anyway. So after 12 years in philanthropy, I'm now on the other side of the street, so I particularly want to recognize this slide, which is to acknowledge the funders who supported us in part, in addition to the Hitachi Foundation over time. My acronym for remembering what I'm supposed to talk today is READY, R-E-A-D-Y, and I'm going to go through the acronym as I go through here. First is the R, and that's for real. So this really did develop out of the experience of companies who were doing really well in their business and doing really great with their employees. Here's just a sample of the kinds of companies that we looked at. Interestingly enough, none of them took the same path to excellence with either their employees or their financial performance. And that led us to conclude that it was about outcomes that mattered. We're slow learners, but eventually we learn. And so we focused on outcomes in terms of looking at things. The RE is, the E is easy. We knew as a prime directive from the beginning that unless we kept the burden on reporting companies low, the uptake of this would not be as much as we would like. It had to be easy to understand the results, and it had to be easy to be able to connect those results to performance over time. So we focused on the prime directive all along of keeping this really user-friendly, making it speedy, reliable, saving time for people, and likewise generating real insights. The REA, the A is analytics, and I'm about to go there now. I think that you have this in your handouts at your place. This is what's generated when a company uploads their data. Instantly, they get a scorecard. We call it the social impact scorecard. There's a summary after analyzing all this data that shows you that this is a 4.5 out of 5 stars company. Companies are rated not against all companies, but against other companies in their same sector and subsector. You can see this is Aspen Ideas Manufacturing, and they're in the manufacturing fabricated metals, and they're doing really pretty well. I'm going to drill in on the metrics that we use to determine that they're doing very well. I've taken a portion and blown it up here so that I could read it. Again, analytics. So the gray band is what we've established from big federal data sources about what's average for that business. It's like a C grade would fall in the gray band. The blue is what the company actually performed. So what we focus on first is retention rate at 84%. They're above the C level for retention. On job growth, they're really at 0. They don't have any net job growth over the 3-year period of time that we measured them here. And on earnings, this is the average earnings for all employees who are under $60,000 a year. We focus in the scoring on frontline workers, and we define those right now, though we'll change it over time, at $60,000 a year. You can see at 18% increase, they're significantly above their national peers. And then we give a little bit of extra credit for their company-wide retention. Because benefits are just as important as pay, it's a little hard to split them out. We give extra credit scoring on the basis of they have a qualifying plan for each of these, and then we have a quality standards. And again, this varies by the industry. So in manufacturing, you'd be expected to offer all 3 of these plans, and you'd be expected actually to meet or exceed the quality standard for all 3 of these plans. As you can see, they meet or exceed the quality standard in 1 of the 3, health insurance. That means they provide a plan at 60% of the premium cost paid by the employer or higher. So the other analytic it gives them is, how could they improve? It tells them their net job growth was 0. They're way behind their peers. They could improve if they attended to that issue. So the READ, the D is diversity. The latest thing that we've added to the system is the ability to capture information that's reported about diversity summarize it and report it. We think diversity and inclusion is a key goal for companies. It's a value in our society, and it should be reflected in the way that we make transparent to people who are using the system what's happening within the company. So here we're looking at Aspen Ideas Manufacturing by gender breakout. There's 123 total employees. If this were live, I could hover over here and it would tell me how many are women and how many are men. That's the key. And then it shows you with graphics the job growth and the retention and the earnings by group. So that's just by gender. Again, with diversity, because ready must be spelled with 2 Ds. I'm looking at the further breakout of men versus women, the detailed data. I always like the detailed data. And you can see that the job growth for females was 2% versus 1%. But the really interesting thing to me is average earnings growth was 14% for women, twice that of the men in this firm. They're increasing the number of women in this firm, and they're increasingly doing well in terms of their average wage. If we look at job growth within the different demographic groups, the African American, Black African American is up 38%, white is at 0% change, and Hispanic Latino is down 11%. So there's been some changes within the diversity makeup of this group. Some good news, some news to be concerned about, and some things to watch. Here's our theory of change, and that is this is not going to be driven into the marketplace by the goodness of people's hearts. I believe in the goodness of people's hearts, but sometimes it's just not enough on its own. So we think money matters, and the way that we see it, this is money over here, that this is a procurement chain that's going to issue contracts, or it's an investor or lender, and they're going to say, this is Working Metrics, the application here, the software cloud base, and this is Aspen or another manufacturing that wants to get the money or the contracts. So they make the request that this company report. This company might or might not report just to benchmark itself, but when this procurement or lender says thou shalt report, it's a little bit stronger in terms of their reporting. We become then in the middle the broker of this exchange of information and insight about the company. So one of the great things about this is you're thinking that I've forgotten about the why in Ready, and that is we're yoked with a partner, a Working Metrics. Good luck, Larry.
I don't know if yoking is good or bad.
Yoking or joking?
Yeah, that's a Swedish word. So my name is Larry Schlang. I'm the founder and CEO of Working Metrics, and thank you all for coming. Last night I was in bed and I was working on my remarks, and I'm sort of saying them out loud, and my wife is way over the far side of the bed. And she sort of looks at me with disapproval on her face. It's like, why are you so boring? Can't you just like not be so complicated and just like simplify it down? And because my wife is almost, if not always, right, at least with respect to me, and because she's probably streaming this right now, I'm going to take her advice. I'm not yoking. So the first question is, what is Working Metrics? So Working Metrics is, in the sort of our subtitle, is a workforce analytics company. What does that mean? It means that we are really honored and proud to have partnered with the Aspen Institute to create a platform that enables companies and their partners to be able to measure, benchmark, score, analyze their job quality over time, and then to be able to securely share their scores and their results with their stakeholders, their business partners, such as Mark mentioned, procurement and investors and lenders. So why is this important? Well, we believe that great jobs produce great results, and those results are for the company, they're for the company's employees, it's for the company's partners, and also for the communities within which they work. So you can tell by my gray hair, I've been around the block a little bit, and I've started a few different companies and led a few different companies. And the thing I've learned is similar to what Pat said, is that companies that have employees who like working at the place that they're at, who feel that this is a fair place that they're working for and have the opportunity of advancement, those companies have a huge differentiator over their competitors. They have a motivated workforce that wants to succeed. So the issue was, as Mark has said and others have said, the problem has been, up until now, there's been no data-driven, easy way to measure job quality. So we made it our business to go ahead and do that. Actually, let me go to that slide first. So how important is this? So this goes back to Mark's theory of his follow the money strategy. So if you take a look at each of these different kinds of players, a number of them are interested in financial and operational performance. But what they're also interested in, many of them, is what's going on socially and with working and living standards in their communities. So if you start with anchor institutions, they annually spend about $500 billion a year on goods and services. Government procurement accounts for $2 trillion worth of spending for vendors. And then impact investors have already committed $9 trillion to work on ESG type initiatives. So what does this mean? It means that there's a whole lot of money out there that can have a huge impact on businesses and on businesses' decision making about what they value, including job quality. Oh, how do I go back? So who is this important to? So I won't belabor this because Mark has already covered a bunch of it, but it's critically important now to businesses to be able to assess their own job quality, see where they stand against their competitors, against their peers in their industry and their region, so that they can better attract talent, get contracts, and ultimately improve their performance. It's also important to those companies, to the partners that they work with. So Mark talked about procurement organizations, their buyers, their customers, and their potential lenders and investors. It's very important to them to be able to look into their job quality because it has a direct correlation to their reliability as suppliers, as good borrowers who are at lower credit risk, and as a good investor who may have a larger ROI. So Mark showed you a little bit about how we measure job quality. I want to talk to you about just a little quick moment for how it actually works. So let's imagine that you're a procurement officer at an engine manufacturer, and you're about to do a RFP for parts. So what you want to do now, in addition to the regular things that you include in your RFP process, is look at the job quality of your potential bidders. So the first thing you do is you invite the bidders in. After they receive the invitation and they register, they supply their job data easily and quickly. It takes only a few minutes. Immediately after they do that, they get their social impact scorecard that gives them their scores and their results. You also, the procurement officer, get this same scorecard so you can take a look at them. And then in addition to that, we provide a full suite of tools for you to be able to compare and analyze all the different companies that are bidding on it and seeing where they stand with respect to their job quality and figure that into your decision-making and selection process. So how do we work with our partners, with our users? Basically, they're all to us are partners. We're on a mission to improve job quality for companies, for employees, for their business partners and communities, and we can't be successful unless our users are successful. So how do we do that? We provide a lot of support. There's a lot of training that we do, both on-site and online and through videos and other things like that. We're also extremely interested in helping you interpret your results. And if your results are a little bit lower than your company might hope, we help you identify ways to improve that. And we especially are looking forward to getting feedback from our users, which we already have done. And then we take that feedback to see how we're doing, and then we also include it back into the product. So who's using it in Cincinnati? Well, you're about to see a number of the folks that are going to be here. Companies have been users of the product to date. And in addition to them, there are also a number of similar organizations that we're working with in the same way in Cleveland, in Chicago, in North Carolina, and in Baltimore and other locations. And we hope we get to talk to others of you in the audience and work with you as well.